The afternoon sun beat down on the cracked asphalt of Miller's Appliances parking lot, a sprawling store on the edge of Route 66. The air hung thick with the smell of hot asphalt and motor oil drifting over from Bob's auto repair next door. Inside, fluorescent lights hummed, a relentless buzzing sound like angry hornets, casting everything in a harsh, unforgiving light. The linoleum floor, worn thin by years of dragging feet, and somewhere in the back, an oldies station played the same tired rock and roll. No one ever seemed to listen. Ashley Parker was 15. Long brown hair pulled back in a simple ponytail, and a nervous habit of tugging at the cuffs of her sleeves. She walked into Miller's that day, wearing faded jeans and her dad's old flannel shirt, 3 sizes too big, swallowing her small frame like armor. Her mom had been gone 2 years, taken by cancer. And since then, it had just been her and her dad, Frank, a man built like an oak tree, but who cried every year on her birthday, because she looked more and more like her mother with each passing year. Frank was a Hell's Angel, not the Hollywood caricature, but the real deal, the kind that rides in formation at the funerals of fallen soldiers, the kind that escorts abused children to court so they feel safe enough to speak, the kind that had been sober for 8 years and sponsored 3 other men in their recovery. His leather vest, soft and worn from decades on the road, his tattoos, a roadmap of darkness and redemption. He had dropped Ashley off at the entrance, while he parked his Harley in the back. He just needed one thing: a simple charging cable for her school laptop. It should have taken 5 minutes. Wait, before we go any further, if you believe in protecting the innocent, standing up for what is right, and the power of family, the kind of bonds that go beyond blood, then please like, comment, share, and subscribe to this channel. Tell us in the comments where you're watching from, because stories like this remind us that justice still exists in this world, and sometimes it rides on 2 wheels. Ashley found the cable she needed in the electronics aisle. She was heading toward the register when she accidentally bumped into a display of phone cases. 3 plastic packages tumbled to the floor. She immediately bent down to pick them up, her cheeks burning with embarrassment. That was when Bob Miller appeared, the store owner, a thick man in his 50s, with a face that looked like it had been hammered flat by years of disappointment. He wore a white polo shirt, stretched tight across his gut, and his eyes were small and mean, like a junkyard dog deciding whether to bite. He had been having a hell of a week. Sales were in the toilet. His wife was threatening to leave him. His accountant had just told him the IRS was asking questions. And now, some white trash kid was messing with his displays. "What the hell do you think you're doing?" he snarled, stomping toward her. Ashley looked up, her eyes wide with surprise. "I'm so sorry, sir. I knocked them over by accident. I'm putting them back right now." But Bob wasn't listening. He saw her worn clothes. He saw her nervous posture. He saw someone he could take his frustrations out on. "You little thief," he spat. "I saw you. You were trying to steal those." "No," Ashley said, her voice trembling. "I wasn't. I was just picking them up. I swear." Bob grabbed her arm, his fingers digging into her flesh, hard enough to leave bruises. "Don't lie to me, you piece of trash. I know your type. Coming in here to steal from honest people." Tears welled up in Ashley's eyes. "Please, sir, you're hurting me. I didn't take anything." What happened next would change everything. Bob Miller drew back his hand and slapped Ashley Parker across the face. The sound echoed through the store like a gunshot. Her head snapped to the side. A thin trickle of blood appeared at the corner of her lip. For a moment, time seemed to freeze. The 2 other customers in the store stared in shock. A teenage employee behind the register dropped a roll of receipt paper, and outside, just visible through the front window, a man in a leather vest looked up from his phone. Frank Parker had been checking the time when he heard his daughter scream through the glass. He saw Bob's hand connect with Ashley's face. He saw his little girl crumple. He saw red. But Frank didn't charge into the store. He didn't lose control. 8 years of sobriety had taught him discipline. Instead, he reached for his phone and made a single call. "I need my brothers," he said, his voice steady as granite. "Miller's Appliances, Route 66, now." Then he walked toward the store, slowly, deliberately. Each step, a countdown. Bob was still holding Ashley's arm. When the door opened, he looked up and saw a mountain of a man walking toward him. Tattoos, leather vest, the red and white patch that made his blood run cold. "What seems to be the problem here?" Frank asked, his voice quiet. Too quiet. Bob's grip loosened slightly. "This is none of your business. This girl was shoplifting." Frank looked at his daughter. "Baby girl," he said gently. "Were you stealing?" "No, Daddy," Ashley whispered, tears streaming down her face. "I knocked over some packages. I was putting them back." Frank nodded once. He looked at the charging cable, still clutched in Ashley's hand, the barcode clearly visible. Then he looked at the 3 phone cases, now neatly arranged on the display. "Let go of my daughter," Frank said. Bob's face went pale as the connection clicked. "Your daughter?" The rumble started small. A distant thunder that grew louder with each passing second. Through the storefront windows, shadows began to move. Chrome glinted in the afternoon sun. Engines roared like a pride of mechanical lions. 400 motorcycles poured into the parking lot. Harleys and Indians, choppers and touring bikes. Men and women in leather vests, all bearing the same patch. They didn't rush. They didn't threaten. They simply surrounded the building in a wall of steel and leather and absolute, unshakable brotherhood. Bob released Ashley's arm and stumbled backward. His face had gone from pale to ashen gray. "I didn't know," he stammered. "I didn't know she was." "She was a child," Frank interrupted. His voice hadn't changed. Still quiet, still steady, still terrifying. It wouldn't have mattered whose child she was. "You don't put your hands on children." The next 3 hours we did were a masterclass in consequences. No one touched Bob Miller. No one needed to. The riders simply stood there. Silent witnesses. Patient judges. While Frank called the police to report the assault, while paramedics arrived to document Ashley's injuries, while news crews, somehow alerted, captured footage that would go viral by midnight. Bob's other customers fled. His employees quit right there, one by one, each placing their Miller's Appliances vest on the counter and walking out. Right through that wall of motorcycles, his wife's divorce lawyer called while he was being questioned by the police, informing him that the footage was already being added to her case file within 24 hours. Bob Miller's life had completely unraveled. Criminal charges for assaulting a minor, a lawsuit from Frank. That would take everything. Health code violations, discovered during that sudden inspection, prompted by anonymous tips. His inventory suppliers, suddenly remembering outstanding disputes, demanded immediate payment. By the end of the week, Miller's Appliances was closed. A "for lease" sign hung in the window, the very window where Ashley had been slapped. Frank never raised his hand against Bob. He didn't have to. His family of 400 had made their presence known, and the system did the rest. 3 months later, the building was purchased by a non-profit organization that helps domestic abuse survivors. The woman who runs it is a former Hell's Angel who was once in Ashley's position 30 years ago. And before we end, we have one special request for you. Comment below with the words, "Family protects family," to show that you stand with Frank and Ashley, because sometime the biggest revenge is not violence. It's simply showing up, standing together, and letting the world see that some people are not alone. There's a saying in the motorcycle community, That explains everything about that day. You can judge a man by how he treats those who can do nothing for him. Bob Miller treated a frightened child like garbage. He didn't know her father was watching. He didn't know 400 brothers were listening. He didn't know that sometimes justice rides on two-wheel down Route 66, and now neither will he ever forget.